All right, so let's talk a little bit about the US and Canada tariffs and how this can actually impact your mortgage rates and kind of the global impact of the economy. Well, not the global impact. All right, so let's talk about the US Canada tariffs and your mortgage. How is this going to affect mortgage rates throughout Canada? Well, let's take a little bit of a dive into some information that's available to us now and what economists and experts are kind of leaning towards and giving their opinions on based on the developments of the conversations that our US counterparts and our representatives are having. So let's start with this. So essentially, of course, we all know that Donald Trump has been threatening Canada with tariffs and going as far as to say as if Canada is not able to pay the tariffs and can't withstand the heat, that we should essentially become the 51st state of the United States, which is very interesting. And I think really is just a negotiation tactic from a multi-billionaire. Very aggressive, very non-PC. However, I think it's all a bluff. I don't think that would ever happen. But I do think that it's very important that we understand the ramifications of the tariffs as they're being imposed. And so as we know now, it's official that the US has imposed a tariff on our oil exports from Canada, so our energy exports from Canada to the US. And so this is going to cause some definite increase in inflation in our prices at the pumps for sure. And I think also Canada has decided to retaliate with tariffs as well. And this is going to cause inflation as well. Now, of course, we can see that inflation is almost imminent this year throughout the summer into the fall and winter season, into the Q3 and Q4. I think will be the major. We'll feel the heaviest impact of the tariffs. And I think it's really important to put this into perspective on how this is going to impact the Canadian economy. And I think what is going to happen essentially is that the Canadian economy is going to definitely go through inflation. Now, we did recently, of course, pass through higher levels of inflation coming out of the pandemic and the response of the Bank of Canada was to raise interest rates to combat inflation. Now, some very key metrics that I think many people didn't know unless you're really well versed and you're into, economics, is that a lot of the level of inflation was coming from shelter costs. So this meaning rent costs, housing costs, yada, yada, yada. How much people are paying for their mortgage, how much people are paying for their rent. Now, if you're increasing interest rates to combat inflation, but the heaviest contributor to the inflation rate is shelter costs, that means that interest rates being raised had a direct correlation with inflation remaining high. And so as we see it now, interest rates have actually started to come down over the past year, or half a year, I'll say. And the impact of that is now we're seeing lower rental costs and lower housing costs as well. A lot of people have stuck with fixed mortgage rates, and so we're not going to see a huge impact in a drop in shelter costs maybe as yet. However, housing prices have really come down, housing sales have come down, and so this has greatly impacted the real estate market throughout Canada. The other impact is rent. Rental costs have also come down as well, as the market has become a lot more competitive. Because the demand for rent and the demand for housing has, I would say, dropped a bit. People are not as keen to go out and purchase real estate. And of course, people are still looking to rent. However, if you own a home and you're looking to rent it, you have to be a little bit more competitive now because, there's a lot more choice for people to choose from. Now, let's take this conversation over to our present day, as this context was more so effective of 2023 and 2024. Now, in 2025, what we're likely going to see, hopefully, is the Bank of Canada continuing to ease the pressure of interest rates on the economy. Now, why is this important? This is important because as inflation does go up with the implementation of these new tariffs, what's going to happen is that we're going to see inflation. And if interest rates are raised to combat inflation due to tariffs, we're going to see a very, very, very heavy effect on the economy. And this is actually not going to help the economy at all. What I believe the Bank of Canada should do in order to ease the inflation of tariffs and the effect of tariffs is to actually lower interest rates to a level where things are actually more affordable. The difference between inflation because of tariffs and inflation because of natural causes like we had coming out of the pandemic is that we know that tariffs are not going to be affected by interest rates. We did see inflation come down due to interest rates coming down. There was a direct correlation. There is no direct correlation between tariffs and interest rates. So what needs to happen is the Bank of Canada will hopefully drop interest rates as the effect of tariffs comes into play with inflation. This way, Canada will be able to still be able to breathe. Most Canadians and the economy will be able to breathe, and we can still have a lot of money flowing into the economy while also combating tariffs and its effects as well. So I'm not here to say that things are going to be good throughout the tariffs if we drop the interest rates, but I will say that things might stay where they are, or at least maybe improve a bit as interest rates continue to drop. Now, this tariff war is very interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see what we decide to do. Of course, with a little bit of a limbo of leadership. Justin Trudeau has announced that he's going to resign, and an election is imminent as well. And we're going in through the middle of a trade war. And I think this is very strategic on the part of Donald Trump and the US administration. And it's really interesting to see what we do as Canadians to retaliate. I understand that the premiers of Canada, of the provinces and territories throughout this country, have actually banded together to go to the US, to sit in the White House and to deliberate in the absence of, I guess, strong leadership within Canada and sure leadership within Canada, which is encouraging to see. However, it would be really good to see this level of leadership and initiative from the federal level of our government as well. Now I'll leave my political biases to the side and my political discourse, and I will continue to talk about our mortgage rates. Now, this is, as interest rates continue to drop, as well as the tariffs being there, interest rates being low will definitely encourage people to go out and spend money. Interest rates being low will encourage people to go and buy cars. It will encourage people to go and buy homes because they'll be able to afford the homes. With interest rates still even now at 4%, a lot of people are seeing relief from when their rates were at about the 6% mark, 6 or 7%. And so now a lot of people are seeing relief now with even variable rates being as low as 4.3%. And even some lower, depending on, if you can get a competitive rate and you can get into like an interest rate battle with lenders, you're actually going to be able to, breathe a lot more if you had been suffering from the 6% rate or higher. And so now would be a great time to look into your mortgage options. Now would be a great time to, speak with a mortgage agent, a qualified mortgage agent that's able to give you some really good details, really good information that can help you to reduce your monthly shelter costs, reduce your mortgage costs, help you to put some more money towards your principal as opposed to most of your mortgage money going towards your interest. All right, so that's all for me in this video. I'll definitely continue to visit to provide you some more commentary on the US trade war, its developments, and also its impact on the Canadian economy at large, and also the real estate market and interest rates as well. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My information is on my description. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Take care.